All right, guys, let's talk business. So if you follow the channel, you've probably seen my awesome lighting breakdowns. You've seen some of the reviews with lighting and even those BTS vlogs that got the channel started. But one of the biggest things that I get asked, whether it's in the comments, one-on-one conversations with creators like myself, or fellow business owners, is how we handle the business side of things. I'm Peter Mokri, a Dallas-based DP and Gaffer.
And I'm Megan Mokri, and I handle the business side of things.
We come from different backgrounds. I have been doing this for 15 plus years, handling photo, video, and a mix of a lot of other things. And Megan's background is corporate accounting. So she has a totally different background from me. And what makes it great is when we combine both of our knowledge, we get a lot of great results. And we want to share our knowledge with you. And that knowledge is sometimes so simple. You just get that aha moment and you're like, you know what? Why didn't I know that? Why didn't I think of that? And that's what we love to share with people like you. Now, just so you know, this is not financial advice, not tax advice, not business advice. It's not advice at all. It is just us sharing our experience and knowledge, and hopefully that could possibly do something for you, whether it's entertainment or educational. So let's get into it. It has been a busy 2026. We've actually had a lot of opportunity to bring on some contractors to help with shoots. When I'm going out for G&E, clients sometimes ask, hey, could you recommend a swing or a grip to help you out? Maybe you have a recommendation for a PA or maybe even a first AC. So we've had that opportunity, but one of the things that we've noticed is the people we hire or help get hired on, they have different processes, and sometimes those processes can slow down one of the most important things, and that's getting paid. So we want to give some tips and tricks on what helped us streamline the process. So when I started out, before Megan joined me and got on board, I was doing invoices on Microsoft Word.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think invoicing was your biggest pain point.
What would happen is I would get a lot of work. I started getting busy and I was just like, you know what? I'll send the invoice eventually. I'm going to just
Back burner.
pile it on and do it like over the weekend and just send out like 15 invoices. What's the problem with doing that?
Then your payment's delayed. The more delayed your invoices are, the more payment it gets delayed.
Okay, so when you worked in the corporate environment, did you know, like if I got hired out by Bob, the producer, do you know what arrangement we have together on when I get paid?
No. That usually is not even communicated to the AP department at all.
Okay, so if it's a corporate client and you send an invoice and you send it 3 weeks later, what does that mean?
That's the first time I'm seeing it, so that's typically when your clock's going to start.
And what do you mean by that?
So when we receive it, if our payment terms are net 30, then it starts 30 days from when it actually gets received to begin processing.
So 30 days plus the 3 weeks, so that just adds...
Not always, but frequently.
But that could mean 50 days before you get payment.
Yes.
So best practice is to have an invoice ready and send it immediately.
Yep.
Is it as easy as just sending an invoice in and that simple? I mean, we work with a lot of clients.
Sometimes it is that easy, and especially if they have efficient departments for payment. A lot of times it's not that easy, and it'll get lost in a spam folder. It will get received, but they don't realize who the invoice is for, and then it just sits in an inbox for a while, and then it gets delayed on the other end. So you always want to make sure that your invoice is received by the correct people and to get confirmation that your invoice was actually received, so then that clock can actually start.
Okay, so get it sent. So ahead of time, you want to communicate and ask, hey, what's your onboarding process? What do I need to do? Because some people just send an invoice. Some people will say, hey, send me a Zelle request and I'll pay you immediately. And other people have you sign all kinds of paperwork and log into, oh my gosh, how many portals do we have? And like different ways of getting paid, bill.com and this and this. It's just endless.
I have no idea how many I've signed up with.
Because everyone has something different, which brings me to another point. Streamlining things on your end is beneficial because then it helps streamline things on the other end as much as possible. So don't make it difficult. Don't send an invoice and put that, I only like getting paid with Cash App or Chuck E. Cheese tokens. That's the only way I receive payments, because you're just going to make things difficult. So you want to be flexible, right?
You don't want to make anything more difficult, especially from a client perspective. You want to make things as smooth and easy as possible. And especially if there's a way that you can help make that process easier, then absolutely, I would recommend doing that.
So what are some, you have an invoice, you develop an invoice, and I would say, from my experience with what we've done, use some kind of software that's accessible on your phone. So then when you are on that shoot, you don't have to run over to a computer and actually fill out your invoice and, I'm away from it for the next couple of days. And it makes it, you can make those changes. So let's say you had some overtime, or you brought an extra rental, or they said, hey, we're going to comp you a second meal, just add parking, $20. You can make that adjustment and still get that invoice sent out. Yep. But what are some good things to always have on an invoice that don't hurt to have?
So you definitely want to have a unique invoice number. That's oftentimes required from the AP departments. You also want to have your payment due date on there, or your remittance terms, whether that's due on receipts, net 15, net 30, whatever you decide. And that doesn't mean that every company and every department is going to follow that exactly, because some have a policy, it's net 30 no matter who it is. But it never hurts to include that on there. Then you also want to have your remittance details, your address, your email in case they have any questions on the invoice. And then it's also beneficial to have a line that says what kind of payment you accept. So if you do accept Zelle and it's different from the email that you sent it from, or even if it's the same, include that email on there. So then when they're going to pay your invoice, it's everything that they need is right there. They don't have to look up any other source.
Yeah. So if your production company or your media company is Strawberry Flavored Tortoise, but they hired you as Texas Pete, make sure that you make that connection, because that can get lost and people won't understand, chocolate flavored tortoise or whatever it is, or strawberry. See, we're already, because they may get one from chocolate flavored tortoise and it gets confused.
It's confusing. Yeah.
So have that information there, and then let them know, hey, please let me know that you received this. That confirmation is important, because now you know that they received it. But what's something cool? So what software do we like to use just to handle a lot of our back-end accounting?
So we use QuickBooks, which is pretty widely used. It is a popular platform for invoicing and just for accounting.
This is not a sponsored ad. This is not but it's amazing and how helpful it is.
We do like QuickBooks. Obviously, it has its weak points, but it is a very powerful tool, and it is very, very useful, and it has worked really well for our business. So we can actually see, once an invoice or an estimate gets sent, we can see when it gets opened. So that is at least another layer of confirmation that it was received. So that helps with tracking. Also, we can set due dates on the invoices.
With alerts.
Automatic reminders. I think ours are set for 5 days before the day of, and maybe a day or two after.
And they remind the client. Yes. And then also you notice that happens. So it's like 5 days before it's due, it emails the client, says, hey, just so you know, it's due. And then when it's overdue, you could set it, if you want to be crazy, to like every single day. Hey, this is due. Hey, this is due. Hey, this is due. And you can be on set working while those emails just automatically get sent every single day to remind them. And they're going to be like, hey, can you quit sending those? Of course we can, once you pay us. Yeah. Yes. So that's really cool. So it has that capability. And I know we've taken advantage of, tracking different things, staying on top of things. Like if you're able to deduct mileage, if you're set up that kind of business and you want to track your mileage, if you have the app on your phone, it will track your mileage. So you could track your trips for business expenses.
It will actually automatically track your mileage. And you can, since we have multiple vehicles, you can go in and assign vehicles. So that makes it really efficient at year end, where not all of my mileage may be tax deductible, whereas, with the van, it is 100% deductible.
So you have those points, and then I've also seen it, which this is really cool. So depending on how you set up your payment terms or what the situation is, we treat out-of-state clients a little bit different than someone that's in-state, because if someone's in New York, trying to track down your money is a lot harder than someone that's in the DFW area that you could have a contact with. So what we sometimes require is some kind of payment up front, and with the way that the QuickBooks works is partial payments can be made. So they could pay a portion up front. So if you require 50% up front, that can be made. You can also take credit cards, which is great. ACH is there. And if the client also uses QuickBooks, there's a method for them to just pay directly through there. So it breaks down those barriers. And at the end of the year, when it comes tax time, like what are the benefits of having an accounting software that's widely used by other accountants and tax professionals?
Our CPA has his own login. So he just takes over for tax time and he does what he needs to do. He can get into our information without me having to show him anything or babysit him or anything, and it makes it really nice and hands-off and independent, and he can do what he needs to do, and any questions he has, he comes and just lets me know.
Yeah, so taxes are complicated. Taxes change constantly, and what do? We avoid messing with all that complicated mess, and we just hand it over to a professional. Sometimes it's best to just step back, and you know what? It is a business expense to spend money on a tax professional. It's just better to do it. We like it. Megan has a history in accounting. Accounting and tax accounting are totally different spaces. It's almost like photography and video. They're similar in a lot of ways, but they're different in a lot of ways. I couldn't avoid that.
Oh, jeez. Are you leaving that in?
Whoa, that was bad. Okay, back to it. So leave it up to the professionals to handle it. So we do that as well. And then the way that we're set up as a business is we're set up where we're actually employees of our company. So then we have to deal with all the complicated tax things, payroll and payroll taxes and all that. Now that sounds scary, doesn't it? But guess what? We don't even touch all that. We just send it off to who?
We automate through Gusto. So it had to be set up on the front end, but luckily Gusto is actually great. And with your subscription, you have advisors that you can contact, and they will walk you through everything if you need help with anything or with the year-end paperwork. They're actually really responsive and very available if you have any kind of issues. So you set up whatever frequency you want payroll to run, or in our case, we run it monthly. So it just automatically runs. They pay our payroll taxes out of, those amounts, and then it shoots over a journal entry to QuickBooks, and I go in and hit post and it's done.
So they communicate. So there's a lot of, even stuff like, which is like kind of like used by industry professionals, or in our industry, there's a thing called Honeybook, and it even integrates with QuickBooks, or there's other different software, but in the end, a lot of them integrate with QuickBooks. Why? Because QuickBooks is so common and so widely used, and it's easier to go with something that's well known and that's easy to use, because when you find that professional to help you, they're already familiar with it and they don't have to learn it. And then you're not paying multiple subscriptions for different things. Now,
it can get really expensive.
It can get really expensive. Now, currently, QuickBooks, obviously it's not free, but there are options out there. I think we're paying as little as $40 a month plus tax. And when you really think about it, for the headache that you can avoid and how simple and easy it is, that for a lot of us professionals is only 2 hours of our time, or even 1 hour of our time. So when you do that and you calculate it, you realize that it is worth the savings. Skip a trip going out to eat or going out to the bar, have a glass of water instead of a glass of coffee, and soon enough, you're saving money in the end.
It's like with anything. If you maintain it, it's not financial advice. And it's not to say you have to use QuickBooks. There are other options, but QuickBooks has worked well for us. And it's like with anything. It's like with gear, with cameras. If you maintain it, it's going to function a lot better, especially long term. because tax time can get really scary if you've ignored all of your accounting and your tax information until the end of the year.
What is also scary is when you have one of those months, especially in the summer here in Texas, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have so few gigs. It is so slow.
No one's calling.
No one's calling, and you start panicking. And what is the first thing I ask for?
What happened last year?
What happened? So you have a record of everything, and you can see how many invoices went out, how much work you did, how much cash flow you had, and you could compare it year over year or month over month or week over week and just narrow it down. Sorry guys, had to cut again. It is 8:40 and this video is getting posted at 8 a.m. tomorrow, so in 12 hours.
Sometime around then.
And I still have to edit it and my throat's getting a little scratchy, but let's power through it. So year over year, we're looking at all the money, seeing what's happening, and it's a good comparison. You can see like, hey, how much is my profit? How much is my loss? And guess what? This all may seem very complicated and difficult, and it's not, because you could watch it on YouTube. There's a lot of information on there, how to learn. But what else does QuickBooks offer?
They also have free training within QuickBooks. So you can go through the whole course if you would like. It actually gives you a certification. I can't remember if that's paid or if that's also still free. I know it used to be free. You can do YouTube tutorials. You can just kind of play around in it and figure stuff out. It is actually quite user-friendly. I had never personally worked on QuickBooks before we implemented QuickBooks for this.
Zero experience going into it. And
I worked on other accounting software, but QuickBooks still was a learning curve for me because I had never dove into the system at any point. So I had heard about it, obviously, but I had never worked on it.
What's really cool is your outstanding balances. You can actually see how much money is owed to you. So you could just open the app and it's like, you're owed $20,000. And you're like, yes.
And it will even break it down for what's due currently and what's overdue. So it will show and highlight overdue invoices for whatever due date you set. So for our case, more often than not, it's net 30. So anything that's over 30 days or 30 days or more past due.
Gotcha.
Highlights.
Okay. So that's one of those things that kind of helps keep track of things, keep things efficient, keep things going smoothly. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there. We have a lot of creative minds. Like, we have an amazing hive mind. So I want to know down in the comments below what you use to send out invoices, what you do to track your cash flow and things like that, because there may be a better solution out there. There's probably a ton of free options. On your phone, you have great things through Google. You have the Google Sheets. You have all that to, track things. Apple has Pages and Numbers and all that. So there's a lot of options out there. So don't be limited by them, but always try to find the path of least resistance. So let me know what you like to use down below and comment that. But there's something that we've come across with a lot of people that we just like to inform people about. And this is something that I would like y'all to comment down below. So this is another thing. So everyone that's watching this video this far, this is really important. Go ahead and comment your social security number down in the comments below. Yeah, that's a weird request, isn't it?
Please don't.
The reason I say that is whenever we're starting out and we send that first invoice to a company we work with, we're green, we're new, we're like, yes, we send it. And we're like, when am I getting paid? When am I getting paid?
Yeah.
What is the first thing they ask for?
They want a W-9.
A W-9. So that says the company is paying you or your company a certain amount. Usually some require it for any amount, but there's a threshold number, whatever it is, $600 currently in 2026. Don't quote us on that, but check with the IRS website. But they ask for that. And on that form, you have to put your social security number. But there's an alternative. But a lot of people put their social security number. Now you're giving out your social security number to be a freelancer for a one-off gig to a random company that you've never worked for, that you worry may not even pay you, but you're willing to give them that personal identifying information. That's risky. And then us as freelancers, we're not only working one time or two times a year for a company or at a job for 15 years and only have to give that, W-9 one time. or a W-2, whatever it may be, because some require a W-2. But in a W-9 situation, what can we do to avoid writing down a social security number?
You can sign up for an EIN with the IRS, which is an employer identification number. So it's an alternative to provide in lieu of your social security number as just an identifying number. So you hand that out instead of handing out your social security number, which makes things a lot safer for you. And you can do that as an individual. You don't have to be set up as a company.
But please verify that through the IRS website, because that could change. We may be wrong with that information, but we're just sharing it with you. So setting up an EIN, which is great. So instead of handing out that social, you're doing that, because we've done it. We've sent W-9s to get paid. They said, we can't pay you without a W-9. They get it. And then at the end of the year, they're like, we need you to send a W-9. We never received this, and we need to do that so we could send you a 1099 and show that we paid you out. But we sent it, or we couldn't have gotten paid. Yeah, it went somewhere else. And also think about how many people are compromised, whether it's on their social accounts, their emails, or things like that. You don't know that that's a trustworthy person, or they may be trustworthy, but
data gets leaked all the time.
Data gets leaked, accounts get compromised, and now that information is there. So avoid it if you can. Be smart, keep it savvy. So we know to send an invoice, we know to send a W-9, and if it suits you, get that EIN, make it beneficial. They know how to pay us. Credit card can be taken if you have it set up correctly. Don't only accept Cash App, guys. Don't be difficult. Make it where it's simple. But I would say this, be very careful and be smart with the payment methods you get. We've had an ACH rolled back one time. We thought ACH would just go right in. That's the end of it. And then the guy had insufficient funds. And then we got hit with a fee for an ACH, which is crazy. There's a possibility with some credit card transactions, they could do a chargeback months later.
Yes.
And that's scary. So choose your payment methods wisely and choose how you get paid, and be really smart about it. And I would say also, as soon as you can, become a business and be smart with your business. I know there's a lot of commingling. Again, this is not financial advice, but if you have just a personal account and you have everything going to that personal account, and then it just is a big old mess.
Very messy.
It gets very messy and it gets difficult. And one of the main reasons, outside of how you're taxed and things like that, when it comes to the end of the year for doing your deductions or your expenses, instead of just saying, hey, this is my business account, this is my business card, everything on here should be business related unless there's some one-off situation. That's a lot easier and saves you a lot of money versus going through every single Red Bull you purchased or cigarettes or whatever.
Saves a ton of time.
Ton of time. Oh my gosh.
Time is valuable.
Keep things digital as much as you can, because in the end, going to an accountant and dumping a whole box of receipts in front of them, that's going to cost you a lot of time and money. And if you don't do that for them, you're going to have to just handwrite every single one of those, and it's going to be a lot of work.
Yes. I don't think they really enjoy that either.
All right. So we know, keep it clean, keep it simple, path of least organized, path of least resistance. Have that ability to access whatever software you're using from a phone to make it efficient so you can send an invoice quickly. And also, there's no reason to tiptoe. I mean, it seems so like, I don't know, it's very taboo. Yeah.
To talk about money.
Everyone makes it so taboo, but it's a business transaction, right?
It is. It's a normal part of business. Doing a service and getting paid for that service is completely normal and should be an expected path in the transactional process. I mean, it is not wrong to ask for an update on payment. It's not wrong to ask for payment terms. It's not wrong to ask for onboarding. I mean, it should be expected, and anybody that's hiring people should be expecting questions like that. So there is some tact sometimes that goes with that, especially if you're dealing with some late payments, or if client or whoever is paying you is being a little bit avoidant. Sometimes it can get a little bit sticky and maybe a little bit tense, but don't feel like you can't ask where your payment is.
And if they're one day late, guys, don't go on Facebook, don't go on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and blast people.
I know it's frustrating.
It's tough, but you know what? Other people are looking at you and paying attention to that, and they see that. And I understand there's some situations where you never get paid and it's out of control and you're late. I get that, but business is business, and you want to have a clean and professional look, and you want to welcome people to work with you. You don't want to seem like a nuisance to work with. And I know that company that's not paying you is the nuisance, yes, but it's all about perception.
There's a balance.
Yeah.
There's definitely a balance, because we have some of our regular clients are set up as net 30, and I know that they're going to be about 5 to 7 days late past that 30 days. I know to just expect that. And it's not that they're intentionally paying us late, it's just how their pay cycle ends up being, and they're consistently paying like that. There are some clients that intentionally don't pay us in 30 days. There have been some clients that have intentionally not paid us in 60 days. There have been a handful 90 days. So it's up to your discretion and your best judgment to handle that professionally, because you never know who's connected to who you may cross paths with again in the future. You never want to burn bridges.
And a lot of times, if you're getting hired by the creative department or the marketing department, they really don't have control over the accounting, because what's the goal of the accounting team of a company? What do they do?
Generally speaking, companies want to hold on to money for as long as they possibly can. So they don't want to pay out any sooner than they have to. If that's 30 days, if it's 40 days, 45 days, whatever. They want to hold on to that money for as long as they can, earn interest on that money in their bank account. I mean, nobody likes paying bills, but unfortunately.
And they're looking out for that company. Yes. They're not looking out for Bob the producer. They're looking out for the interest of the company, and they are doing what they're supposed to do. So there is that disconnect. Now, there have been situations where we've made it so easy for someone to pay us, where we have that QuickBooks invoice sent as soon as we're done with production and we're driving off, and what has happened?
They pay instantly.
Instantly pay, even though the terms were net 30, net 45, but we made it so simple, and they realized, oh, this is through QuickBooks. Yep. Oh, we have QuickBooks. There's money in that account. Click, yep. One simple click. They feel at ease, they feel comfortable, and they pay us immediately.
We have several that do that, which is really nice.
And that makes it so much easier in the long run. So guys, if you like this type of content, we need to know, because I had to drag Megan into this office to get on this video, to chat with you guys, because again, I let her handle that stuff, because me, I'm on set, and I don't need Megan to be on set hanging out with me. I don't need an emotional support Megan. I need a Megan to emotionally support me on the business side of things and handle all that mess, because it just makes my life easier. Mm-hmm. So when I get on set, I'm focused and stuff is getting handled. But if you don't have a Megan, there are some options out there. I'll list them down below in the description. I mean, really, I don't know if there are any other Megans out there, but
I'm not available for
she's
hire.
Not available for hire. I am available for hire if you need that one-ton grip van. DP, Gaffer, let me know. But in all honesty, these things can help people that have just a handful of clients, or that have a lot of clients. And you may already do a lot of this, and you may be very efficient with all these methods, which is great. But if you don't do this yet, and you're trying to get going and you're trying to get organized, consolidating and making everything more streamlined will save you so much time. And in the end, time is money. Yep. Time is money. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. If you have a chance, do the whole little subscribe thingy. We'd appreciate it. And as always, click on all this stuff. There's probably something right here, something right here now, maybe like down over in this area. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll see you on the next one.